I find that there's usually two reasons women cheat. The first one is simple. They're just a down low thought. The other one is more interesting. These are the ones that you have relationships with, who you end up falling in love with, who you potentially build a life with, and then they turn around and cheat on you. And obviously, these are the ones that hurt the worst. There's a few reasons that people do this, and it may not actually be what you think it is. But I explain this, I'm gonna get clinical, but I'm also gonna try to keep it short and punchy. You're in a relationship and someone loves you. You're considered to be their primary attachment figure. And this is nervous system related, but the nervous system is saying, this is my person. And it's more primal. It comes from the days that we were living in tribes. So that means that this person is coded as essential to your survival. Primary attachments don't just go away. That's why you can break up and think about someone 6 months, a year later, if not more, because your nervous system functions completely different than your brain. So when you understand this is why these people don't break up with you. Not necessarily that they're malicious, even though of course it is malicious, but for them walking away from their primary figure, they know that's not going to be easy. So they can either start seeking replacement, or of course they're just impulsive and trying to have fun, because these are almost two different systems at play. The attachment system isn't going to let you go easily, so that's what drives the behavior to stay. But then their brain is seeking novelty, dopamine, etc., and that's what drives the cheating behavior. So that's where you get people who stay in the relationship, who try to fight to stay in the relationship too sometimes. Then they turn around and keep cheating on you. Of course, cheating is driven by poor impulse control. Usually they're impulsive and dopamine seeking. Like the people who cheat on you, if you actually sit down and analyze their character, like actually sit down and think about them as a person, like most likely they have other habits that are impulsive. They do other things that you would consider to be dumb, because usually this is more ingrained in their character than you think. You may also be asking, okay, that's fine and all, but where is their loyalty? How can they just so easily betray me? And the thing about loyalty is that it's really interesting. First, I believe that loyalty is mostly conditional, because let me frame it for you simply. There's a certain price or a certain thing that most people will betray you over. Like let's say for example your girlfriend, she might cheat on you for the right guy. If he's a millionaire, he's perfect, he's a 10-10, like insert her dream guy, yeah, she might cheat on you for him. The right person might betray you for $1 million or $10 million. Basically there's something there, some sort of thing that they'll betray you over. And I understand that we're speaking in absurdities right now. The point is, if they'll betray you over something like that, for example, then they can also betray you for less. Because yes, those things are absurdities. There is something that they will betray you over. Like let's say it's not $1 million, but maybe 100,000, maybe 50,000. Because if you bring it down to reality, there's still a price. And the same thing with a man. It may not be a 10-10. Maybe if he's like a 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Here's the other thing too. If you look at the cognitive framing, in other words, just how you're framing the argument, if you notice a lot of women who cheat on you or the ones who break up with you, they usually always frame it as them being unhappy or them wanting true happiness, some sort of greater than life thing. If you notice, it's not as simple as, yeah, I just like him more than you. Yeah, he's just a little better than you. There's like these little issues I have with you. Usually it's not that. Like, when they cheat on you, it's about some larger unfulfilled need, some larger unfulfilled goal, some larger than life thing, because that's the thing. That is their $1 million. And that's what people don't really understand. Because again, everything is about framing. Yeah, she's not just cheating on you for another man. She's cheating on you because he represents true happiness. He represents the future she wants, or whatever scenario she's going to create. And this is where men end up trapping themselves. Because when you investigate, when you ask questions, another psychological factor comes into play. And that woman is trying to protect her character because she doesn't want to feel like a bad person, even if she knows she betrayed you. This is also why people assign higher than life meanings, because it's a lot easier to say, yeah, I betrayed him because I wanted true happiness, as opposed to I betrayed him because I was being a thought. Because usually when you start to investigate or you ask why they cheated, kind of flip it back onto you. All the things you failed at, all the ways that you were lacking, the things that they desire that you're not. And of course, as a man, that can hit your self-worth, because then you feel inadequate. You're thinking, all these other men are better than me then. Or you think these men are better than me. But that's not really what's at play. If you break it down to its simplest form, while yeah, sometimes it can be more complex than this, you really have is someone who is impulsive, someone who doesn't know how to regulate themselves, someone who's seeking novelty and excitement, who then decides to go cheat on you. Then they assign a narrative around this thing, like I'm pursuing true happiness, so on and so forth. Then, because they don't want to feel like a bad person, and they've already signed this larger than life thing, they're going to start figuring out everything that's wrong with you. And they're going to create a list that also reinforces that behavior. So before you know it, their impulsive decision, their novelty seeking, all of that turns into this higher than life purpose, and you essentially being the one with all the problems. And to be clear, I'm not saying the situation can't be more nuanced than that, or that they're like a totally horrible person. But usually there's a lot of psychological factors at play, and a lot of people don't really understand this. They just take everything at the surface level. But remember, people usually act first and assign narratives after. And that's also how these women women end up being serial cheaters, or they change on you, like you notice their whole character flips. And you're kind of just sitting here like, how did all this happen? You notice that they're talking about how they've changed, how you've changed, how life is all these different things. It's like all this massive assigned meaning to something. You're just sitting here like, what? Like, I thought everything was fine, thought we were doing fine. Where is all this coming from? And you see like a switch is flipped in them. What you have to understand is that when a woman cheats, of course all this logic applies to men too, but when a woman cheats, she's crossed essentially a threshold. Say there's a line in the sand, she's crossed it. Because at this point, if she comes back to you, she tries to repair the relationship, and there's a really uncomfortable truth there. Because she has to face that she's a bad person. Because if she's feeding herself all these narratives about why she cheats, why she's leaving you, why you're bad for the relationship, etc., then to backtrack on all of that, that would mean that she's accepting you as a person and reflecting on her own decisions, and that would make her a bad person. And a lot of people just don't want to live with that. Again, a lot of this isn't necessarily conscious. It's usually subconscious driven behaviors. That's why they'll flip on you, leave, etc. You're completely caught off guard, seem like a completely different person. But a lot of it is psychological and clinical aspect. Women essentially just trying to protect themselves and not to look like a bad person. And you're just caught in the crossfire of all this. And the crazy thing is they're not even aware that it's happening. Hopefully this helps some men out there not take it as personal. I'm out. Peace.